I don't always wear button-down shirts, designer sport coats, and drink highly purified H2O. But when I'm due, I'm talking about the role of government. All it takes is one click of the TV remote, and before you know it, your television's on, and broadcast on almost every news station is new government laws and regulations. Adolf Hitler, one of the world's most ruthless and controlling leaders, once said, "To conquer a nation, first disarm its citizens." In the book Minnow Pea by Mark Dunn, the High Council of the island Nolliton took practically complete control over its citizens by banning almost all of the letters of the alphabet. They took almost all communication away from its citizens, which forced people to move because they simply could not communicate with their friends and family, since they had the fear that they were going to be turned into the High Council. Through all the pointless rules and regulations that were introduced throughout the book, sent down to the citizens by the High Council, and all the people suffering as a result of these rules, Mark Dunn is trying to express that the role of government is simply too commanding in our lives today. The examples of making everyone obtain health care and raising or lowering taxes based on income, we see our government controlling us more every day. While extra control from the government can be good for a nation as it helps protect the country, it can also be bad in how it takes away some of our rights. What started off as one simple letter being banned quickly escalated to the point where only 5 letters remained available for the citizens of Nolliton to use, and the right of speech was basically taken away from them. Although the High Council of Nolliton may not have realized it, they were becoming power hungry and hurting the citizens. In the Shrine to Nolliton, there were 4 letter O's in the pentagram that he created. Near the end of chapter 5, when the first of the 4 O's fell, the council raised an edict that the people needed to cut the usage of the letter O by 25%. The council really had no way of being able to tell if people were actually cutting the usage of the letter by 25% or not. This is just Dunn's way of showing us how the government was trying to utilize any possible way to let the people know that they were a strong presence in the citizens' lives. The High Council could have easily gone without issuing any edict, or simply saying that the letter O was still available for the people to use. Minnow Pea, the protagonist in the story, says in one of her letters to her cousin Tassie Percy, near the beginning of chapter 2, "You are right about the fallout from this most absurd law. Not only does it cripple communication between islanders, it builds rock walls between hearts." This quote just really shows how the laws that the High Council were putting into effect were affecting individuals inside and out. It ruined numerous relationships as people were forced to leave the island either because of banishment for speaking one of the forbidden letters their 3rd time, or there were also the people that just left the island simply because they were afraid of the High Council. It just shows how when you lose communication between individuals, you really lose all sentiment and connection with others. And this is what Ella means when she says that rock walls were built between the hearts. Because when you can't communicate, there's really just no connection or love between the individual like there used to be when they could communicate. Rory Cummels, a store owner in Nolliton, who had a store taken away from him by the High Council for the reason of a shrine had to be built on that location, said at the end of chapter 4, "I am angry that all we have come to value, perhaps even taken for granted, is being ripped from us." And through this quote, Dunn is showing us how when a government becomes power hungry, they just start making laws that end up destroying communities. Another example would be in Nazi Germany, when the Reichstag passed the Nuremberg laws. The Jews of the country became severely oppressed nearly overnight, and it eventually led to a war that would affect the nation on the grandest scale. The Reichstag thought that the suppression of Jews was the correct thing to do, and they could not be swayed from their opinions by even the most powerful world figures. And the result of this was a world war that led to the destruction of many nations. The High Council of Nolliton was similar to the Reichstag in that they were so power hungry that they continued to look past how negatively their banishment of the letters of the alphabet hurt the community. By the end of the book, Nolliton was basically deserted, since everyone was either banished or ran away. And through this, Dunn is trying to show us that when the government becomes so power hungry that they look past the suffering of the people, it really takes the citizens to step in and let the government know of the atrocities that they're doing to the community and also try to help them fix them. By showing the pointless laws that the High Council of Nolliton put in place, and the suffering of the community as a result of them, Dunn did a great job of expressing his opinion of how the government is simply too commanding. It eventually took the power and intellect of the standard citizens to create a new panagram and restore order to Nolliton and give the use of all the letters of the alphabet to the people once again. This just goes to show how the phrase "power to the people" is the wise saying, because ultimately, when the government gains too much power, it is up to the people to get it back on track. Stay politically involved, my friends.